This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1863. Bryan, Peter, and Shane giving you this, that, strange, new, everything all at once.
How are you?
Good.
I'm recording.
Same stuff, different day.
Yeah. No. It's got to be new. You don't got any kids anymore.
Well, that is a little new, but Carlene's going through some work stuff right now, just that's requiring her to be a little bit later than usual. So even this first week, we really haven't been able to do anything normal that we think we would. But it's different. Thinking about it just being us now, it's been 20 years since that's happened, so that's definitely different.
You don't have a movie partner anymore?
No. Well, I mean, Ben's only at Kutztown, so he's close enough that if movies come out, we'll get together and see them. Matt's a little bit harder. He's 2 hours away at Bloomsburg, but it's fine.
Right.
Just take pants. He'll go to the movies with you.
It's not the same. He eats all the popcorn. Actually, that doesn't matter. Matt can't eat it anyway.
Oh, no. He went through this. Oh, no. Wait. Did you?
I've had diverticulosis for at least 10 years.
They changed that now. You were allowed to eat all those things.
I do, as of like last week, because Carlene had a procedure done to check everything, and she's like, "Okay, what do I have to stay away from?" They're like, "Nothing." I'm like, yeah. What? So the next time I go get one, which will be this year sometime probably, I'll feel better if they tell me that then, if they don't find anything wrong.
Yeah, I mean, because I have it too, right, for 10 years. And yeah, all the new medical science just says, like, basically people were just guessing that would be better.
Sure.
And then all of the studies since, when they ask people, like, who have flare-ups or whatever, like, what do you eat? It's like, it doesn't matter what you eat. The same percentage of people get flare-up. Like, it doesn't, so it makes no difference. So
I've had 2 flare-ups in the last maybe 3 months. One of them kind of coincided with my kidney stones, which was really fun, but I wasn't eating anything that would cause it. I mean,
right. It just happens.
And I'm drinking like 3 liters of water a day anymore. Yeah. It's crazy.
This is the comic talk people tuned in for.
Yeah.
What is on your restricted diet as you get to be 50 years old? Yeah.
I can't see anymore. It hurts when I pee.
Old geek speak. I totally forgot that, or maybe it doesn't matter, but that new Amazon Lord of the Rings series was tonight. I was like, oh no, you guys
starts at 9. Yeah, so you got 55 minutes.
It's streaming, so I don't care. I'll just catch it whenever.
Yeah. Tosh is away for a few days, so we have to wait to watch it.
Okay.
So the girls are like, oh man.
Yeah. I was surprised. Something that was kind of beneficial for the pandemic. And maybe even just no, it was really after the pandemic. At one point, Ben and Matt both were like, we're not going to sit here and watch Flash or whatever TV shows are on anymore. And I'm like, that's fine. It's what I did too. You grow up, you get involved with your friends. You don't want to hang out with dad all the time. And then I guess it might have been the Book of Boba Fett, or no, the second Mandalorian season came on. And Ben came down and said, can I sit here and watch this with you, Dad? Yeah, sure. And every show since then, whenever possible, he sits down and we watch every episode whenever it comes out. So that was kind of a cool benefit to kind of getting back to him getting excited to watch that kind of stuff. And sometimes Matt would join in, sometimes not, but it was cool.
I tell you what, I'm loving it. It's funny how things go full circle, but like, I'm loving how most of these like hit streaming things, you have to watch one a week. They're not dumping the whole season at once.
Thank goodness.
Because I hate the pressure. It's like Sandman. Now, I mean, Sandman can't really be spoiled because I read the comics, but like Umbrella Academy, like I'm running on thin ice in that we're only on like episode 3 of the new season, because anybody online could be telling me what happens because the whole thing dropped at once. But when they only come out one a week, like we try to stay current. Like maybe we get one episode behind, but we try to stay up. But when Netflix drops a whole season, we don't even try. We're just like, we'll get to it when we get to it, because I can't keep up with it.
No, me either. And I always did that, even before so many people were watching streaming stuff. I mean, 10 years ago, if something dropped on Netflix like that, I just did it myself. I could not stand binging something in a weekend and then having to wait 2 years for the next season. I wanted it to last a little bit. I wanted to get some enjoyment out of it. So I would watch it one episode at a time, and for the most part, I never got spoiled, thank goodness. But it was not easy.
It's crazy. Stuff drops at midnight or 3 a.m. and then Friday afternoon, somebody's like, finished the new season of blah, blah, blah. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
What? I mean, I don't know.
What do you do?
Did you sleep? Did you eat? I mean,
Yep.
You take a dump? What are you shooting yourself up with? And how is it humanly possible to watch 10 hours of television in 11 hours? I don't get it.
No, me either.
I couldn't even do it. Even if it was the best show, even if they dropped a whole Mandalorian, I'd be like, I got to take a break. I can't. I need a day off from this. It's too much TV. Come on.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I started reading Umbrella Academy because I haven't seen the series, and
I didn't watch it yet either.
Yeah, and I know it's like my sister, my niece, a friend of mine. They all, they love it. They cry over it. Blah 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 blah. And I remember reading the first 6 issues, so I was like, well, let me go back. It's got 3 miniseries, and I've read 2 so far. So after I read the first 2 miniseries, I was like, okay, I'll watch just the first episode just because. And I turned it on, and it's got the characters and it's got the beats and things like that. And I just was like, this is the show everybody's raving about. And I was like, okay, well, let me just keep reading and then I'll watch it. Maybe it gets, for me, it's just, I was like, where's the imagination? I was like, I wanted to, I don't know if you've ever read the comics, but it's that Gabriel Ba artwork that's just it's almost like, it looks like a cartoony version of Mike Mignola, and it's got just the fanciful stuff in it. So I went in not with expectations, but I was like, I was kind of disappointed in that first episode, but,
so have you still only watched 1 episode? Yeah,
I'm just going to finish the books and then I'm going to go back to it.
Okay. Cause I think that show is phenomenal. And it's just everything about it is top notch.
Does it get kookier?
Oh yeah. Oh, it's super kooky. And so that's what, I don't know if you remember, because we talked about Umbrella Academy on the show, and I love the artwork, but I didn't have any fucking clue what was going on in those comics, because it's super obtuse and it's so weird. I'm like, I don't even know what's happening. I'm just looking at pretty pictures, right? And so with the show, I can actually understand what's going on, but it's weird. Very weird, but not so weird that you just I don't even know what's happening. It's you definitely can follow the story, but it's delightfully weird, but clear enough that you can understand what's happening. So I really love it, and it just gets better and better. Season 2, the characters are so good, and the actors I think do a great job. It's just a really good show. My kids absolutely devoured it. When season 3 dropped, Hazel watched it in 2 days, and we were like, oh, she was like, I'm not waiting for you.
Is there a character Hazel in the show? Do they have, because there's Hazel and Cha-Cha? Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. I think I remember, did you watch Legion when that came out? Remember when that show Legion?
I did not.
I watched a few episodes of that, not all of it.
Yeah, I remember when that first episode came out, and they were filming it and trying to sort of capture that mindscape stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought it was visually, it was just so awesome. And I guess when I went into Umbrella Academy, I was looking for that visual, because I'm sort of starting to get tired of comic book movies looking plain or just boring, or just like a TV show. I'm like, these are comic book movies. I don't need it to be the same, but can you do something? I just saw the first 2 episodes of Miss Marvel, because that's where I'm at with they do all those emoji symbols and drawings on the buildings. I was like, okay, that's cool to me. Yeah. It probably drives some people crazy because they're it's too much visual stuff. They're probably like, I can't focus. And I'm the opposite. I'm like, I like that. That to me means something different than just, let's just do a straight up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just want my comic book movies to be more creative.
There's definitely, I mean, that's what I think maybe is one of the reasons why I really love the Umbrella Academy show so much, is because it is like weird and does strange things. When it like makes sense in the story, it's not just all the time, but people have weird powers and there's weird time travel stuff and like things. And so they give you just enough that you're never expecting it. And then when it happens, it's delightful because it's like comic booky or whatever.
That's how I felt about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh,
that was so phenomenally comic booky. I can't wait for the next one.
Oh, the animated one, yeah.
Yeah, that comes out soonish, right?
Yeah, the toys have started to hit shelves, so it's got to be sometime this year, early next year.
Yeah, I'm psyched for that.
Yeah.
That was arguably the best comic book movie ever.
Oh,
I would agree.
And plus it's animation, right? Because you can do so much with animation. I want them to do a little bit more with books.
Well, and that's something that as long and I've said it 1,000 times before. For as long as Warner Brothers, now Discovery, but as long as Warner Brothers owned DC, they sure didn't do so well with the live action movies most of the time. But they hit it out of the park most of the time with their animation because they could do more. But if they just put a little more effort into the animation, well, maybe the audience wouldn't take it either, but I would think they would, because most of that stuff that I saw should have been in the theaters, and it really wasn't. It was always straight to DVD. And then you have something like Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse come along and blow the waters away. And I'm like, all right, Marvel really doesn't do well with animation for the most part, but that was a hit. So what is Warner Brothers doing wrong that their movies aren't so great and their animation is good, but they're not getting it anywhere other than straight to DVD, straight to TV, straight to streaming? And that's fine, but at least I get to see it. But man, I'd really like a good experience, massive in the theater again.
How much of that is tied into like contractual, like, you do a physical DVD release as opposed to a movie release where you have to deal with the movie. Like, is any of that factor?
Quite possibly.
I don't know any of that.
No, me either.
And who the hell's buying DVDs anymore?
I know.
Heck? I mean,
yeah. The last one I bought, I did buy whatever the last Spider-Man was. No Way Home?
Yeah.
No Way Home. I did buy that one. And I'm not even 100% certain why, other than it was on sale. It was cheap. And I wanted to be able to put it right on my phone. And then the kids were taking the DVDs and watching them in their rooms or whatever. But for the most part, we watch everything streaming. And I don't buy DVDs. I don't buy anything else. But that Spider-Man one kind of ended all the Marvel ones that I've had. And now I don't even bother buying any of the Marvel TV shows or anything because I have Disney Plus. So it's all going to end up there anyway.
Well, and you mentioned about Warner Brothers and Discovery and the debacle that they've been going through and people on Twitter were like, "See, this is why you should invest in physical, because they can just take all that stuff off of streaming." And I was like, that doesn't make sense either.
No,
like
that's point backwards.
The point isn't like Comixology where you buy individual issues and you want to keep them even if it is digital. When you have a streaming service, it's a menu, right? And some shit's there and some stuff's not there. You're not going to watch everything on their thing. So if something goes, okay. But then I was like, well, it's still not appealing to me, because you know what? If HBO Max takes off something I want to watch, we've come a long way. That's what piracy is for. That's what I'm going to find it online. I'll go watch it on YouTube if I really want to see like a clip from whatever, I feel like that argument of like, that's why we should always have physical. It's like, really?
Well, I mean, like, I agree with it from like the current state. Like Shane and I were talking on Facebook the other week about moonlighting. Like, you can't stream moonlighting right now because of some rights or whatever, probably music, but
it's whatever. All the song rights. Yep.
But they released it on DVD. So if you happen to have the DVDs, you can watch moonlighting anytime you want. Right.
Yeah.
And like I have season 1 and 2, or just season 1 or whatever. I don't know. The first like box thing that whatever is in that.
The first one's 1 and 2 and the second box was 3. And that's all I got.
So it's like, but but I don't want to sit and watch DVDs. Also, I'm used to 1080p now, and DVDs are only 480, so I don't want to watch that anymore, or 540 or whatever the hell DVD was. But like, I don't want to like swap discs and try to remember what episode I'm on, so I just want to stream it because it remembers for me, right?
Computers don't even come with DVD. My new computer doesn't even come with DVD.
Who even has a DVD player? But like, so the problem is not that we should be owning physical media. The problem is they need to get their shit together and like just stop. Like music rights on a episode of a TV show from 35 years ago. Like, didn't they get their money already? Who cares if I watch Moonlighting and Bruce Willis is poorly singing one song, which like that's what his character shtick was. Like he would walk in the office and sing a song. It's like you're gonna pay royalties for something that Bruce Willis was covering for like one verse. Like, come on. Like, I don't even understand. Like, I'm all about paying people for the work that they did, but seriously, like you got to draw the line somewhere. Just let that show. Especially now that Bruce Willis is like not acting and is dying or whatever. Like, come on, let us watch his best work. It's arguably his best work. I mean, come on.
I thought for sure that when that announcement came through, you'd get an announcement the next week saying, all right, before something more drastic happens, we're going to figure out a way to get this done so everyone can enjoy it that hasn't seen it in 30 years. And nothing, crickets from Disney, because they own it. Oh, it drives me crazy. The same thing happened with the 60s Batman. That's why it took so long to get them on DVD and Blu-ray and all that, is all the rights for the people, the actors, whatever. It was insane. I agree. I'm all for paying people for what they do, but you look at, they did the same thing with some of the John Hughes films, 16 Candles, Breakfast Club. At some point in the late 90s or early 2000s, they lost the rights to have the music in it. So you're watching on TV, or even some DVDs that came through had all these weird songs in it. It wasn't right. It didn't sound right. And here you come to find out that it's because of some kind of rights issue. And then they got them back and everything was put right with the world again. And I'm like, this was like 1984, 85. Come on.
I feel like when none of that stuff happened on VHS, like they just released everything and didn't care about rights. So if you have like the old VHS copies around, man, you watch whatever the hell you want,
Yep. And Adam has all that.
Yeah. The thing that does drive me nuts and because is I think these services, especially the ones that are like Disney or HBO, right? It's owned by Warner Brothers. Like, stuff should never go away. It should just keep getting, the library should just keep getting larger and larger and larger. So every month that you subscribe, your value add should be bigger. And like, if I want to go watch some old movie that's super random, it should just be there. And if it's not there this month, then maybe 6 months from now it'll be there. And then it'll never go away because it's a Disney film. Disney should never be taking things away. It should just get to the point where eventually in 10 years, every single thing that Disney ever filmed is streaming on Disney Plus. And that's what you're paying $10 a month for, is access to literally everything.
And I'm pretty sure Disney hasn't taken anything away unless I missed something.
Well, who took Avatar away? Because the new one's coming. I thought I saw somewhere.
Oh, that I don't know.
They took Avatar off streaming, and everybody's like, "The new movie's coming out."
Because they want you to pay $4 to rent it. Right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I sort of get it with like big shit like that, right? You gotta make money, but like old stuff that nobody cares about.
Yeah,
it's like, why are these movies just like disappearing? It's like, I don't even want to watch it, but I'm angry that I see it on an email that it's going away. It's like, don't take it away. Add more. If nobody watches it, it doesn't cost you any money anyway, because you didn't ship any bits. You
might get that one person. Like, one of my favorite movies that my mom loved when I was growing up. You could catch it on like channel 29, 48, or 17 on a Sunday afternoon. Was Operation Petticoat. And forever you couldn't find that. And all of a sudden I got it on DVD years ago. And then just out of the blue, before Mom passed away, it came up on Apple's thing for like $5. So I bought it, downloaded it to her iPad, and she's watching it in the nursing home she was at, to just getting enjoyment beyond belief about it. But I can't believe stuff like that isn't on streaming, because you got a couple bucks out of me because I wanted to get it for my mom to watch it. But I would have watched it every now and then. It's not going to make a ton of money anymore, but I always got a kick out of it. And you got to have people like me in that nostalgia kind of mentality that had a connection with their parents, grandparents, whatever it was, that you might want to watch some of this stuff. So just put it out there. In this day and age, it shouldn't be hard to find stuff online at all.
Yeah, it's all nostalgia. I just saw that there was I didn't even know that there was a League of Our Own.
Oh
TV
yeah, new
series.
TV. Yeah,
new on Amazon.
I didn't start watching that yet.
Somebody said something on Facebook, so I just watched a couple clips and trailers. I was like, okay, I'll watch that. I mean, I love the movie, but I was like, I didn't even know they were doing that. That's insane. They're just mining everything. Everything is IP.
So this like when you talk about nostalgia, right? I had this. We just finished the attic, and the attic is now a combination Lego and video game room. But I also moved all of my trade paperbacks up there, get them out of the bedroom.
Okay.
And I was carrying everything up and down, and I was carrying. I have the Absolute Sandman editions, right, which I'm in the process of rereading, and then I realized that I had the 3 issues of Death, the High Cost of Living, like sandwiched next to the Sandman there. So I was like, because I don't want to like lose them, and I want to remember to read them when I get to that point in Sandman.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, that came out in like what, 93 or something, 92, though, that Death, High Cost of Living. I'm like, that's 30 years old now, or damn near. And I'm like, man, I still love Chris Bachalo. And I'm like, man, he's now got to be, he's not one of the young guys anymore. He's getting to be one of the more senior guys in comics, because all the other guys of that previous generation are all dying off. And it's like, and then I had this like weird like moment where I'm like, I can't ever express to people how much, especially 30 years ago, I just adored his artwork. Like when I read one of his comics, it was like no other comic on earth. Like in my head, like that was like my happy place. His artwork was like everything I ever wanted from comics, right? And then I thought, like, in another 30 years, who's even going to remember, like, how many kids, how many 18-year-olds or 20-year-olds or whatever are going to read a Chris Bachalo comic, period, and let alone how many of them are going to have like a life-changing experience and go, this is the greatest comic art I've ever witnessed, right?
Yep.
And then 100 years from now, nobody will even know who Chris Bachalo is, right? Like potentially, right? Like he's not going to go down as a Salvador Dali or a Picasso, right? And it was like, oh my God, all these people that we love so much are just going to fade into oblivion for the most part, 50 years after we're dead. And that's like, it made me so sad. I was like, I'm carrying comics to my attic. And then I was just like, oh, everything sucks. I don't want people to forget about these awesomely talented people,
I was going through that, especially around my birthday this year. Hit 50, kidney stone problems, realizing it's been 5 years since Dad passed away and how much has changed. And I'm thinking, man, all things being equal, I really don't have a whole lot of time left on the earth. I mean, I do, but I don't.
Oh my God.
And then every now and then you just get that, I at least I do, I get that somebody walked on my grave feeling like, okay, no more me. Wait. I'm going to miss at some point the next Batman or the next Justice League or the next big sci-fi thing that nobody thought of before. And it's so cool, but I'm going to miss it. And I'm not going to know I'm missing it necessarily, but it's still a weird feeling as I transition into this new phase.
Dude, I know. I have the same thing. I'm like, what Star Wars movie is going to come out after I die?
Yeah.
I don't want to miss the Star Wars movie. I know I won't miss it because I don't believe in any afterlife or anything. And I just know that I'll blink out of existence. So it'll be fine. I won't even know I miss it. But now I already am regretting the Star Wars movies I'm not going to see.
Yeah.
And then like I'm watching, all the new Star Trek shows. And every time I'm like, oh, Jamie would have loved this. And then I'm like, Jamie's missing all these.
Oh my God.
Strange New Worlds, like he would be like living it up. And
that is my favorite. Well, that and Lower Decks are awesome. I absolutely love what they're doing with Strange New Worlds. That show could be 100 episodes a season and I would love it. I just absolutely love the cast. I love the way they act together, whatever they're doing with the writing. It's enthralling to me. It grabs onto me and I am totally in some kind of tunnel vision watching this show, totally oblivious to anything else going on around me, and I'm sucked right in like I'm sitting in the room watching them walk around.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Pike is like already my favorite starship captain ever. Like he's just it. Like, I mean, I know everybody loves Picard and everything, and but it's
that's fine. But
I feel like Pike just wins that contest.
It's all in that first episode. There's a lot of good when he's on Discovery, and that's great. So you don't have to watch all of Discovery to kind of get the Pike stuff. You can, for the most part, just jump right into when he starts, watch him on the show, jump right to Strange New Worlds, and you're fine. You don't need everything else for the most part. But then you get to that first episode of Strange New Worlds, and you get towards the end, and I'm going to spoil something, not really big, but if Peter didn't watch it or something, he's in a forum with the people on the planet that he's on, and he just like leans and he goes, "Excuse me, hello," in this very nonchalant kind of way. And I don't know, there's just something about the way he delivered it that just cemented me thinking he is a great actor to play this part. And he just took off from there. And every episode was getting better and better for my love of what he was doing and bringing into the Star Trek universe to this character that we saw a couple episodes with Pike and heard some things, and you might read some books about it, but man, to see it on TV in a whole season, and it just blew me away what they did with that show.
Yeah, I'm not finished. I'm on like episode 7 or 8 or something, so I have a few more episodes to go. But
the last episode,
awesome.
The season finale was brilliant to me. I can't wait for the next season.
Well, hopefully that'll kick off like the way the original Star Trek made people fans of sci-fi and da-da-da-da. Like maybe this will be a whole new generation.
Yep.
That'll take off after this. Hopefully it's not just, nostalgia heads,
No, I hope not. And I was a little skeptical about like the actor that they got to play Spock. Before I saw him, I was like, okay, great. Another Spock, but he really did good. And more so on Strange New Worlds because he's had a lot more to do. But it just, they did a lot of really good stuff with pulling from the history of Star Trek and some characters and some things of from the old show and bringing them into this show. And a part of it, you just got to suspend your disbelief of things are going to look different. The ship looks bigger. His quarters are massively larger than what Kirk's were on the old show. You just got to kind of put all that aside and just go with it. But everything else about it, like to me, the core of what everything was and hoped for with Star Trek is still there. And they're doing a better job with that than I think almost anything else that they're producing.
I mean, when they did the J.J. Abrams stuff, there's a lot of people who didn't even know about the original series. They just went in. They went in because they probably were fans of Chris Pine or fans of
Zachary
Quinto, and all that stuff, and then wound up. I think I wondered about that. I wondered what, like when you mentioned that we're on our third Spock now, that if we had more of those Star Trek movies, would they have brought Spock in, a new Spock on TV? I mean, I don't mind all the different variants.
Oh, I don't either. I don't either.
Like we got like Uhura's on the show, I feel like they should be doing that with Star Wars too. But I wondered about that because we kept hearing, oh, they're going to do Star Trek 4, and it's like, are they really? Yeah. And do we really care anymore? Like, should there be another one?
I love those movies.
They're great. They're great. The last one, but the other two are pretty good.
And if you haven't watched Lower Decks and you're any kind of a Star Trek fan, they throw so much stuff in there from other shows, other things that if you get it, it's phenomenal. And if you don't get it, you're still not missing anything because the show itself is still funny. But if you're a diehard fan, like I think like what you're saying, Brian, if Jamie was alive, he would get such a kick out of Lower Decks for all the Easter eggs they throw in there. Little tiny nuances of something that he and I would know that the average fan may not know. And I know tons of other Star Trek fans will pick up on it too, but it's just an enjoyable show. And it's fun as an animated series unto itself, but to know all those little things they throw in there, they really dig deep for some of that stuff. And if you miss it, it's not affecting the story at all. But if you get it, it's funny.
Yeah, I haven't watched it. I don't know that I'm enough of a Star Trek fan that I want to watch an animated series, especially one that's like sort of silly. That's silly is usually not my bag, right? Like But
understandable.
To answer your question, like you said, like you don't think Strange New Worlds is like off-putting to a non-fan. Like I've seen all the motion pictures and a handful of stuff, and I've certainly been around Star Trek forever, so I'm like more than a not fan.
Yeah.
But I don't know nearly as much as Star Trek fans know, and I love Strange New Worlds. I think they got it perfect. I think they finally made, well, like the new movies did it too, where like it's beautiful. The budget is big. They're not making it cheesy, because I can't stand cheesy, And like Picard still feels a little cheesy to me. I'm watching it because it's Picard, but like the production value is lower. It's not really very good, right?
The first season was good. I didn't like the second season as much.
Yeah. But Strange New Worlds is like they just pumped the budget to maximum and went all in, and the actors are doing a great job, and it's entertaining even if you don't know anything about Star Trek, right?
Yep.
It's just a good show. Yeah. So I think they finally figured it out.
There are the people who are always like, oh, how does it fit with the original series? They look so. That's like, God, just relax.
Just enjoy it.
Like, who even cares?
Do you mean like when you read comics? Do you go, well, that's not the. Well, they do that actually. They go,
well, they do.
It's not the way Byrne drew it. I'm like, Byrne hasn't touched a Superman comic in 20 years. Who gives a shit? You know. So, yeah, it feels like just absorb it. Put it in your head canon and just let it go. Let it roll.
I feel like if you don't do that, you're robbing yourself of just some fun, enjoyment and entertainment, and something that you can talk to friends and family about. Things that not everybody's going to love it. Like I love the newer Star Trek movies, but they were a little bit more flash bang than what I care for, but I still enjoyed them. But Strange New Worlds to me is just a little bit better, and they're doing it a little bit better than what those movies did. But they come out with a fourth movie, I'm sure as heck going to go see it because I love the franchise and I want to see what they do with it.
Right. Now here's sort of speaking along the same lines of like the way people's reactions, right? So like when, like Brian, when you and I talked about Game of Thrones and we talked about like the last season, a couple whatever episode that was when we were doing these episodes, and one or two people reached out and they were like totally disagreed with everything we said about, the ending or whatever. And yet the new series, 10 million people watching the first one and 10.2 watching the second one. So it's like, you people don't actually care that you hated the ending. You still are going to watch. I mean, I know the end. I think they said the ending had like something like 19 million people. I looked it up, but I was like, okay, it's still popular. People still want. You can't tell me that there are 10 million new people that didn't, that gave the people who gave up on Game of Thrones, and then we got a whole 10 million more people to watch. No, it's the same fuckers that are just like, I hated that, but I'm gonna watch the new one anyway. It blows my mind.
It's legitimately something that I just don't understand. Is because when we, Tasha and I sitting at home, not knowing what happened with that final episode, we were watching it at the same time as everyone else. Like that was like we started at 9:01, right, or whatever, so that it couldn't be spoiled. And we were sitting there going, and we were like cheering. We were so happy, so good. And then we look online, and everyone's just like, it sucked. It was like, I'm not sure you watched the same episode I watched. Like, I don't understand what you would want to be different. Like, what, do you want the bad guys to win? I guess you could want that. That's fine. It's Game of Thrones. Horrible shit happens all the time. So I guess I wouldn't be surprised if the bad guys won. But like, it wasn't like a perfectly happy ending. There was lots of bad things happen. I don't know. Right. Like people are just like, you can't please them. Like especially the point of the show is to be entertained, right? Yeah. And I was highly entertained. And that episode in the final season where they're just waiting for the battle, that was like the most intense episode of the entire show. Because you're just like, they're going to fight the big battle. They're going to fight. And then they never fought. And the whole episode was just them just prepping for the battle. And the anticipation was so intense. It was like, that's brilliant television. Like, who has the balls to spend an entire hour just building the audience up for the next episode? Nobody does that. And they did it. Like, that's like interesting television, right? Oh my God. I think people just can't appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think because we didn't have the roadmap, right? Because we didn't have they never finished the book series, so then everybody's wild speculations or just assuming things. But I mean, I don't know if you saw that first episode. I saw the first episode of this new season, and I went, it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was fine. I'll keep watching. I'm not in a hurry. Like episode 2's out. We haven't watched it yet. Yeah. Like we'll get to it when we get to it.
Right.
I just finished season 1 of the original Game of Thrones, so I have a long way to go, but I'll get through it.
Oh, you didn't watch it yet, Shane?
No.
Oh,
just got through the first season.
Nothing was spoiled. There was nothing.
Oh, no. And by the time I get to where you're talking about, I'll forget it anyway.
There's 20 million other things that happen that you'll you'll totally forget about it. So
yeah. And we didn't say any character names, so it doesn't.
No.
Right.
And even if you did, I'd forget about it by then. I don't know them well enough yet.
Clara is actually going to start reading those tonight.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Reading.
Nice.
Yeah. So,
and I guess the new series is also based on a book too. I just haven't. It's sort of. Yeah, like
I didn't think it was, but maybe it is.
Yeah, there's I'll have to look it up real quick, but
well, and I know that there's a huge problem with just being able to enjoy entertainment. Like, I know, Brian, you have a very heavy dislike for the way Lost ended. I loved it, but I can still sit here and talk to you about it and not think any less of you for not liking it while I liked it. But people can't do that anymore. It's like if they don't like something and their person and their friend doesn't like it, that's it. They're not talking to them anymore. And there's a lot of like stark, forget it, you're stupid now. I don't get that. It's just a show. Just move on to the next show.
I think I get it with certain things. Like Lost frustrated me, right? Because like they were essentially saying like that nothing that happened, right? And so it was like they basically admitted that they backed themselves into a corner with all the things, and then they didn't know how to get out of it, so they just like wrote it off like a St. Elsewhere poof. It never happened. It was like you already St. Elsewhere did it, and then that was interesting because they were like the first ones to do it. But now you just sort of did it again, but it wasn't a dream; it was purgatory or whatever. And you're like, what the. It's supposed to be a show about science, and then you went like as supernatural as you possibly could. So that's why I was like so frustrated with Lost, and like I don't understand, Shane, why you liked it. Like I am genuinely confused, right? But like I mean, I feel like most of the haters on Game of Thrones are hating it just to be contrary. Like,
and
I don't think we'll ever know if they actually hated it or not. They're just, their public face is they're saying they hate it. Internally, they might have been cheering at the end. I don't know.
And then to watch it, to say, well, I'm just going to see how bad it is. Well, that doesn't make sense either. There's plenty of other stuff that I'd want to watch that's good. Why waste time on something I'm already going to think is bad?
Right. I gave up on the second half of the last season of the new Battlestar Galactica because I just hated it so much. I was like, I don't even need to finish watching this. I don't know if it gets better at the end, but I'm done.
It.
Fire and Blood, by the way, is the novel. It's they pull elements from it. It's not like a complete, translation.
The new Battlestar, that I have a love-hate relationship with that. It's good and bad throughout the whole thing. The first season I loved. The last one, it was a little rough to get through. I did it eventually. I don't even remember if I watched it every single week, but I did get through it, and I do watch it, but I usually only end up watching like the miniseries, the first half a dozen episodes, and then I find something else. And then a year from now, I'll come back and I'll watch the miniseries and a couple of the episodes, and then I'm out. And I never really watched the whole show again for that one.
So speaking of Battlestar, so Ronald Moore, he's in charge of that For All Mankind on Apple TV Plus. I don't know if you watched it yet.
Oh no, I haven't.
Oh my God. That's probably my favorite show right now.
Huh.
So it's an alternate universe where the Russians got to the moon first. And it's the space race, and you follow the characters like from the 60s, in the moon landing, right? And then through like space shuttle stuff, and then like Mars, like, so season 3 is like Mars, and it is so good because it's like real, but just different. And they do really cool things where they like take edits of like speeches from Reagan and like weave it into the characters in the show, like talking to Reagan on the phone or whatever, like, because he's the president. And then it's like, but then different stuff happens because it's an alternate timeline. So nice. Like, Bush doesn't get elected or whatever, and like all these things. So it's really good.
Huh.
And it's gripping too. Like there's so much suspense in it because it's shit in space, and space is scary, and so bad things are always happening, and you're like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? And it's I don't think that the show is predictable. I've been shocked like repeatedly by what's happening. So it's really good.
People have been calling it like it's almost like the origin story of like the Federation or something like that. Like you could almost
weave it into that.
Especially because of Ronald Moore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Huh. No, I had not watched that. Out of all the streaming services out there, I do not have Apple TV streaming service. I have an Apple TV box. I got a lot of stuff on it that I watch through it, but I haven't signed up for the Apple service yet. But something like that.
I feel like it's very like I think it's only $5 a month.
Really?
Yeah, it's very cheap. And then like I have it included because I have the Apple One package, so I get the backup and I get all kinds of music, Apple Music and stuff. And with the whole family, then it's just cheaper to get the package, and so we have it.
Huh.
But there's lots of really good shows on there. Like they're being very picky about the shows that they make, and so almost every one they make is very good, and then some of them are exceptional. So like the morning show is an exceptional show.
I've heard that one's good.
And the new one with oh my god, I can't believe I just forgot her name. The woman from Mad Men who's like incredible.
Oh, Christina
Hendricks?
No. The one who's the secretary who basically essentially becomes the main character. Elizabeth Moss.
Oh, okay. From West Wing. Isn't she on West Wing? Wasn't she one of the daughters?
She's on The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
She's like the star of that, right?
Yep.
Anyway, she is the lead of a show on there. It's amazing. And Severance, the show, the new show, it's like a psychological thriller from Ben Stiller. It's not a comedy at all.
Oh, I saw previews for that.
Insane. It's so good. And if you like comedy, Ted Lasso is like maybe the funniest show ever made. That show is funny as you can expect.
She's Bartlett's daughter. Yeah.
The youngest one.
Yep.
Elizabeth Moss. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know. I thought her for like first appearance was Mad Men. I never saw West Wing, so I didn't know.
Yeah. No, she goes all the way back to like 1990.
Really?
Oh wow.
Must have been like a child actress.
Yeah.
The first thing I knew her on was West Wing.
She was in Picket Fences.
Oh my god, I love that show. Tom Skerritt.
Cynthia. She played Cynthia. Cynthia Parks.
Wow. And now see that, and there again, talking about things that should be out there. To me, that should be one of those shows that's out there. Only lasted a couple seasons, a little bit quirky, but I loved it when I was watching it when it was coming out. Wow, Picket Fences.
So, Brian, did you see Doctor Strange?
The movie, the new one?
Yeah.
Into the Multiverse of Madness or whatever? Yeah. Okay.
Because the last time we talked, you had only seen Spider-Man.
Well, it's now out on Disney Plus. Right. So now I saw it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. What'd you think?
I liked it.
Because the last time we talked, you were talking about the introduction of the Fantastic Four, and I was sitting here going, he hasn't seen it. He hasn't seen Doctor Strange.
I know. I loved it. And him as Reed Richards is like, I think that's just wonderful casting.
I did too.
I totally am sold that he will act and behave like Reed Richards does. Like
if they go through with it, yeah,
if they go through with it. I mean, I think it's on the schedule, right?
The movie is, but him being the actor
we don't know if
not.
He's because it's like a multiverse, so it could be any actor. We don't know, but and if they get him, I think that was great casting. So,
but if they don't, I'll also appreciate that they just threw it in there because that's what so many people talked about. Just to have him as Reed Richards and to have him just for a few minutes, that's great. And maybe who they pick for the main movie is going to be even better. I can't quite see it yet, but we'll see who they pick. But it is, I think it's 2025 for that to come out or something crazy.
It's so ridiculous. I appreciate that they have a plan that goes years in advance, but I don't want to know about it because you're killing me because I'm waiting for 3 years. And then I'm going, oh, motherfucker, I'll be 51. I don't want to be 51. I'm excited for Fantastic Four, but not so excited that I want to be 51. So stop with the telling me, just like...
Yep. Just
give it to me 6 months in advance. That's all I can take,
Just like Discovery and Warner Brothers now are like, we have a plan for DC for 10 years. I'm like, 10 years, I'll be 60. Let's get that shit out now.
Right. I don't have time to wait anymore, right? It seems cool like 10 years ago, it seemed fine, right? And now it's like, no, it's not fine.
2008 with Iron Man. Man, what could they do? And they did all this great stuff, and now I'm old. No. Let's get it out faster.
I know. It scares the shit out of me.
Yep.
I almost half wanted what's his name, the Reed Richards from the Fox movies. I wanted him to be. Because they just killed him off anyway. What's his name, Ian Grufford or something like that?
Yeah.
They just killed him off anyway, so it's like...
Yeah, so why not just have him...
It's sort of a way to kind of go, okay, we're done with that. And then the next
they did it with Patrick Stewart, So,
Oh, right, right. With Professor X,
Yeah.
Well, whatever.
I half thought that they were going to have, in some fashion, Chris Evans as Johnny Storm somewhere in there.
You got to, somewhere. Yeah.
Because they had Agent Carter, and I just kind of figured, well, maybe that'd be kind of a neat little throw in there.
Yeah, somewhere along the way they're gonna have to reference that again. So.
I did like that he was in the new Fantastic Four suit, right? Or like more recent-ish. Yeah. I'm not reading it right now, so I don't know what their suits look like now. But like within the last 3 years, that was the suit that they were wearing, which I thought was pretty cool.
And the tech he used to transport, was that like Doom Tech or something? I thought I read somewhere.
That's his time machine, the square that comes, the platform that comes up. Yeah, that's from Doctor. That goes all the way back to the Marvel age, the first 10 issues of Fantastic Four.
Okay.
Yeah, it was cool. That was a cool section. I didn't like that they called it Illuminati.
I didn't either.
I like that the comic is called Illuminati, but I don't want them. He goes, yeah, we're going to go to the... It's like, you're already setting yourself up for, mystery, intrigue, we don't trust you, conspiracy, blah, 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 blah. How about we're just a group of schmucks, with high intelligence, and we just... The council, call something like that. And they call it the Illuminati. That was great for the comic title, but don't call yourselves that.
And I didn't like how
arrogant.
Easily they were dispatched for a couple of those characters to be so powerful that they just, boop, you're done. Now Reed Richards, that I kind of expected. I mean, guy who stretches against Wanda, you probably don't have much of a chance.
Speaking of Pike, right? He got his...
Yeah. Yep.
He's like, that's okay. Kill me off. I got a TV show. I'm good.
Right. The only thing I didn't like about the Doctor Strange is I did not feel like we got enough Multiverse of Madness. We went from what would be perceived as our Earth to the alternate Earth and kind of back. I mean, I know they traveled through a few there, but I just thought that there would be more craziness about it. And it was a little bit more grounded than I expected it to be, I guess. Still good. I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, you got enough with the different versions of Doctor Strange, part of that as well.
Yeah.
Because I thought they really, Wanda touched on the whole notion of your choices, right? There's this multiverse out there and you can be anything or you are something. Your decision making is this way and this way and this way and this way. And they open it up with him attending what's her name's funeral, right? Or not funeral, wedding.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, why would he not explore the notion that he could be in a world where he could have her, or be married to her, and almost in a way, if he was kind of riding along with Scarlet Witch, okay, I get your point, I see it, but then realizing maybe that's when you go to the Illuminati and they're like, oh yeah, every Doctor Strange is bad too, and then he goes, okay, I get it. Yeah. But it was almost right away. He was like, she's wrong, and that was it. So the whole choice thing was on her shoulders, but it wasn't really on his.
Well, and I think it might be on his a little bit now after what he did to stop her.
Right at the end, yeah. For the next movies.
I kind of expect, like you said, I expected that to be a little bit more in the movie for him to be a little bit more ambiguous than what he was.
Yeah. But I dug it. There were some people who really didn't care for it, and I was like, I don't know. I was kind of okay with it.
Yeah,
I'm not completely 100% sold on the actress they got for America Chavez, because I love that character in the comics, and this girl just felt too Disney-fied. She felt too like what you would see on an actress you would see on one of the Disney shows, and I was just like, it was fine. She was fine. She's totally fine in the thing. I kind of was I wanted something a little bit different, but otherwise I was like, yeah, it was good. And it was so Sam Raimi, especially that whole whole Shu-Magorath fight was just like Sam Raimi all over the place.
And like so many things that if I go to the theater and watch it and I'm like mediocre about it, enjoyed it, but meh. I watched it when it came on Disney Plus, and then I watched it a third time, and I'm like, you know what? I like it a little bit more than I did when I first saw it in the theater. Mm-hmm. And that happens to me all the time. If I don't like something immediately, if I happen to give it another chance, I'll usually end up liking it a little bit more. Some of that's my own quirkiness of the more I see something, the more I like it, the better I feel because it's familiar. But I really did enjoy it more the more I watched it.
You get to focus on different things. You don't have to worry so much about the story. You can actually just sit there and the story. You can just absorb and see where the pieces either make sense or they don't make sense.
Yep.
Yeah. No, that worked. That's why I read things like 5 different times, because you always get something new out of it. I get something new out of it. Yeah.
I have such a short attention span. I read something and I go on the next thing, and I almost never come back and reread it, because who the hell's got time for that? There's 80 million things I want to read still,
Yeah, I know.
That's what this show is good for, is it forces me to reread shit so we can talk about it, because I've forgotten. I don't know what the hell happened.
What was the last thing you read, comic book wise?
Comic book wise?
Anything?
I haven't read any comics for a while now, since like probably those Thors or whatever that we read. Geez. Like, I don't know. Like, I just forget. Like, I have big ass iPad here with Marvel Unlimited. And I just was like, let me go to the Marvel Unlimited app and see what's happening. That's what I've been doing while you're talking, because I'm like, I don't even know what's out these days. Because like I stopped getting DCBS shipments, so then I don't get previews, so then I don't know what the hell is coming out, and so like I'm just like out of touch. Right?
You can find previews online.
I know, that's a pain.
Yeah, I agree. I don't get previews anymore. I still get maybe a half a dozen books. Justice League related usually. I got Blue and Gold when that came out. I get Dark Crisis. That's about it, because I have a DC app and I have the Marvel app, and I'm more than happy to pay the fee for those subscription services so that if I ever get an inkling to read something, I just have it there. But my desire to keep so many books now is waning quickly. I have what I have back here that I still have to go through and get rid of some stuff. Most of this is all Justice League, Justice Society related, and that's it. Everything else I kind of am okay with not having anymore. I had just mentioned at one point, it's been a really long time since we've seen a Black Sod. And then all of a sudden one was solicited, and I just got it last week. So I'm anxious to sit down and read that, because I do think that's still some of the most phenomenal art I've ever seen. Is that world.
And that's part 1 of 2. There's a second one.
Yeah, I saw that on the cover. I'm like, oh my God, part 2. The only other thing I read recently was I got caught up to get into Dark Crisis. I got caught up on Justice League, and that was mostly Bendis's run for the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. Other than the appearance of the Royal Flush Gang, I was kind of underwhelmed and bored. I didn't like it so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't dug into that Dark Crisis stuff, but I read the 75 where they died.
Yep.
And I was kind of like, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Didn't
bowl me over.
Yeah. I mean, comic book writing is so different these days anyway. Mm-hmm. Artwork was fine, but the writing itself was kind of like,
Yep. And I'm becoming so much of an old man. I'm almost to the point of, I don't understand this. I'd rather read my back issues that I do like.
Well, Peter and I talked about this. Like, there's still so many old comics we haven't read.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's just so many. How can you read them all? And especially for me, I forget everything that I read. So I just remember that I liked it, but I couldn't tell you what happened. So I can go back and reread it, and it's like I'm reading it for the first time.
Sure.
So as I get to start to feel like you feel, Shane, where it's like either it just feels repetitive because like how many new Batman stories can you possibly tell? So I could just go back and reread old Batman that I know that I loved or that I thought that I liked because I was 13 when I read it, so it feels good to be nostalgic or whatever. Like there's nothing stopping me from doing that. So I can continue to love comics. It doesn't mean I have to read new comics.
Yep.
I mean, I could read an occasional new comic if somebody's talking about some new Image book that's like all the rage. It's like, yeah, I'm happy to pick that up, right?
Sure.
But I don't need to like feel bad because I don't want to read the new Avengers series because I'm like Avengered out, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
You're not reading John Romita on Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man?
I'm not, but I should. I didn't even know he was doing it, so thank you. I'm going to look to see now if
it's up to issue 7,
6 or 7.
Yeah,
so it's probably not on the app yet.
Yeah,
6 was the big anniversary one, right?
Oh, was that? Yeah. Oh, well,
900 or whatever it is.
Oh, right.
Oh, they got some. It's right here. Oh, issue 1 and 2 are on the app.
There you go.
Okay,
sweet.
I read the first 3. I actually didn't hate it. I was, and it helped that John Romita was on it because then you can. I was going to bring this up. Who's the writer? Is it Zeb Wells?
Zeb Wells.
Yeah. He knows to use John Romita as an artist, but also as a storyteller. Like you don't need so much dialogue when you got John Romita Jr. on your book. If you want a quiet chapter or a quiet page, John Romita Jr. knows how to draw a quiet, introspective Peter Parker page. It's like great.
Yep.
And my problem, I think, with some of these newer comics is I was talking to Daryl from New York about this. Too many of the newer writers either come from TV writing or script writing, or they want to be in TV writing, script writing. So what they're really writing is dialogue. They're not writing stories. They're writing scripts of dialogue. So you read these comics and I'm like, this isn't meant to be read. This is meant to be spoken and listened to. And that's not comic books. Like give me the old guys and the old girls and who knew how to use the comic book page or use the artist and tell stories that are, that have a little bit more of like an elevated language, like like Marv Wolfman and Chris Claremont and Ann Nocenti and who kind of they know that you're reading a comic. It's almost like you're reading literature or a book. The language can't just be two people talking. That's not interesting.
Yeah.
What the hell is the artist supposed to draw? When it's just two people, characters. It's like no. And then I saw somebody say, "Well, that's what Bendis did," and I'm like, no. Bendis still knew he was in a comic book and he knew how to make funny, I remember New Avengers when, way back with Disassembled and they were going around getting new members for the team. And they went up to Spider-Man and they were like, and he was like, does it pay? And they were like, yes. And he like hugged Iron Man or something. He was like, thank you, but it was a funny 1-2 scene, like panel to panel. It was funny and it made, so when I start reading that dialogue shit, I'm just like, you're not that creative. You can't write snappy dialogue. Not everybody can write like, what's his face? Aaron Sorkin or, Gilmore Girls or whatever,
Yeah.
It doesn't work in comics if I can't hear it. So I think that's my problem with some newer writers, like in the past 5 years or so. But that Zeb Wells, the Spider-Man, I was like, it's fine. It's a decent, okay. I haven't read Spider-Man in a while. Sure, I'll read it. It's got.
But isn't he the guy that beat us at the Crusaders video with his stripper Hulk thing?
Talk about a great.
You.
I want Zeb Wells to pay me for all those videotapes that I paid for. Somebody has to pay me. God damn it.
All I hear is was it Sally from the Charlie Brown Halloween special? I want restitution.
Still waiting for my refund. I don't know. It's never coming.
Why aren't you at Dragon Con?
Dude, I spent 2 weeks at Pensick. I didn't have time to go to Dragon Con.
That was your Dragon Con this year, I guess.
Yeah. Also, it's not, 80,000 people inside buildings. That's I had 7,500 people outside, and there were COVID outbreaks, and whole camps were leaving because
really
there was literally no inside. Right, we were outside for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
but people are close and they're partying and they're sharing drinks or whatever, and so there were little like mini outbreaks of COVID around. I can't imagine how many people are getting COVID at Dragon Con. I mean, it's all indoors. There's nothing outside.
Yeah.
It's Atlanta in August. You don't go outside. It's fucking boiling. So you stay in the hotels the whole time, and in your crush, there's people everywhere. It's a sea of humanity. Just
a lot of sweat.
Fluids. I'm not prepared for that, right? Like,
I know Daryl was talking about going to New York Comic Con. Mr. Phil's going to like SPX, and I'm just like, I can't do it. I can't do it.
I really would like to get to a convention, toy or comics at some point, and I really have an itch to it, but I'm not ready for that yet.
I'm just gonna be a hermit for the rest of my life. I really am.
The way it's going, but I had a lot of fun at my thing. It was super cool being a big medieval nerd for 2 whole weeks. That was pretty awesome. That's like the longest, like, you know, we go to a convention, like it's like 4 or 5 days at the longest, right?
Yeah.
You know, and this was like 15 days I was there. It was like insane. It was so great, you know. That's a long time just be nerding out, you know.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Your pictures look cool. I enjoyed them.
Yeah, and I didn't take nearly as many pictures. Like, you get so sucked in, you like forget to take pictures because it's so enveloping. Like, you're really just there, and it's like you forget that it's like, oh, I should be taking pictures of things because this is not real world. But like for 2 whole weeks, it is a real world, right? So it's a real mind bender when you're there. It's wild.
So 15 years ago, September of 2007, you know what that was?
Was that our first
the end
gathering?
Sort of like the end of September. No, third one, episode 300.
Okay.
15 years ago at the end of September of 2007.
Wow.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Golden Eagle's best day ever, according to Lem.
I just thought I was like, let me see. I wonder what were we doing? Not just 10 years ago. I was like, obviously we haven't hit 20 years. So let me see what 15. And I was like, oh, wow. We were getting ready at the end of September, the 21st or something like that, for episode 300, the big. Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I was trying to think when it started. It was 2005.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, Matt was just born 3 months after we'd started the show. Okay, that's weird. Now he's off to college. That's weird.
Yeah, it's super
bizarre.
Weird. Yeah.
God, just think when we started the show, I was, let's see.
I was 33.
Broke up with a girlfriend, was living at home, and didn't have any work. Nothing.
The more things change, more they stay the same.
Oh my God.
So what you're saying is life's cyclical.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Is Golden Eagle still around?
Yeah.
Is it still that shop like right where, like next to where Fairgrounds was? Like,
yep. I actually stopped in there Saturday. I never get over that way ever. And I had a reason to be. Drove past it. It was 11:07 in the morning. And I pulled in and they just opened at 11. So I walked in, got a couple issues off the shelf just because, walked around for a few minutes, talked to Scott for a few minutes. He said they're doing well. They survived the pandemic. And the gaming side and the comic side, he said, is doing really well for them. So that's great. By the time I left at like 11:30, there had to be 10 or 15 people in there looking around.
Well, that's good.
Parents with kids on their own, adults on their own. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So they have a lot of gaming stuff now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep.
I feel like Showcase Comics here, you know, they have a lot of comic books, but they have a lot of games too. They have tons of role-playing stuff, lots of board games, and so many of them, like the miniature games and stuff, like all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, you know, and of course, Magic cards are just, 30% of their entire revenue or whatever. I don't know.
I haven't been back there since really they first moved in there and got settled. But if you go in the store, you get about 2/3 of the way to the back, and there's a hall to your left. And you go back there, to a hall, wind around, and there's a huge area in the back that they have gaming tables set up. It's really neat. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'll have to stop in at some point.
Every time I was in Showcase, the other Showcase, not the one near you, but wherever, Swarthmore, I guess it was. Yeah. Yep. Every time I would randomly go in there, there were always people playing in the back. You would hear them playing whatever games with big mats of whatever,
Yeah. Like I'd Warhammer be there, and stuff or whatever.
Yeah. I'd be there in the dollar bins and they're all over there, collecting. Yeah.
I'll tell you, all of a sudden, out of the blue, Ben started getting interested in some comic book reading. He went to a store up towards my mother-in-law's house, bought a couple trade paperbacks. One was a Captain America, a newer Teen Titans, and some kind of Star Wars Rebels one that I had never seen before. And he said he already finished 2 of them, and he's looking this weekend to talk to me about ordering some more or seeing if I have some things that he'd want to read. I'm like, hey, take all you want. I got plenty. You don't buy it just so you have it. You can have my stuff. It's fine. So just all of a sudden, I mean, he's read some things over the years, and when he was younger and we'd show up at the CGS shows and whatnot, he was reading Bone and different things, and then he got out of it. And I don't know what sparked him. Just all of a sudden, a month or 2 ago, he started reading some trades again.
Clara wants that she used to read tons of comics, but then when I stopped buying them, like new comics weren't coming into the house. And then since we just moved the comics up into this new attic space where she's planning on spending a lot of time because it's a really cool room, she's like, oh, now these comics are here. I'm just going to read these. And so I was telling her some things that she should read. And so she started reading Fables, and I know she's just going to plow through that in no time. So yeah, and she loves Neil Gaiman. She's like read most of his books, so she's like, I got to read Sandman. I'm like, yeah, you do. So there it is. So
Fable's back again too.
Yeah,
Fables is back.
Oh yeah,
for about
picked up right where it left off.
12 issues or so, 16 issues. Or
yeah,
is it?
Yep.
Like 150, whatever.
Yep, they just continued right on.
It's Bucky drawing it.
I don't know if that.
Oh, see, that's 70% of Fables.
Well, you're right.
Also, he's like the kindest person who works in comics. So
151, I guess, is Mark Buckingham.
Okay, good.
Steve Leialoha, Todd Klein.
Yeah,
wow, that's the whole.
That's what I want. So I wonder, is a trade out yet?
Not yet.
They've done so. They haven't. It's not.
It's only up to 153.
Oh, okay. So that's only 3 issues out or whatever.
Yeah,
but I think it's only running for like, I don't know.
It's only 12 or 16, like you said.
Was it that much? Okay, yeah.
All right. Well, then I just wait because I have that whole series in trades. In fact, it was so brilliant that the last issue was just a trade because it was fat enough. Like that was the comic was a trade. Right. That made me very happy inside. Since I bought the whole series in trade, it was like, see, I don't even have to wait. It's just the last issue. It just happens to be so fat that it looks like a trade paperback. Hey. Yeah.
They need to do more of that, honestly. I mean, I sort of like that DC has really kind of latched on to limited series and mini series. Like they're straight up like, here's a Swamp Thing mini series. Here's well, you mentioned like Blue and Gold, but like everything that's kind of new outside of something that might be attached to a movie. Like there's a Black Adam series. Okay, that makes sense, but sometimes all the other things are like just miniseries. A lot of stuff that Tom King is doing, all miniseries.
Yeah.
But then I read the new Champion of Shazam #1 because of Evan Doc Shaner is the artist on it. And I didn't really know the writer. But I got through that first issue and I was like, they should have just collected this in one. I can't sit through 4 issues of a story that doesn't grab me. Like, come on, you gotta, for something like this, just put it out all as one. Like you already were delayed with it. Why did you, I think they still haven't got into maybe the financials or the appreciation that some of us have of getting the story all in one, even if we gotta wait. Like I'm happier that way. Because if your first chapter doesn't grab me, I'm not picking up the rest of it. You're done. But if I know I still have if I only read a fourth of the book, I will go, okay, well, let me keep going. I already bought it. It's not like I'm not going to finish it,
Right.
So, yeah. So I wish they would. I wish they would
Well, and
do more
if
original
it's
graphic novels.
if it's a miniseries and I've read the first issue, second issue, and then I get behind a few, I'm going to reread those first 2 issues anyway. So I'd rather just get it all at one shot, so I can sit down and read it.
It's why I don't buy them so much, because I have the app, right? So it's like I'd rather just wait, because normally I'm going to wait anyway because I'm so far behind.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I waited and just got the trade for Mr. Miracle.
Mm-hmm.
That was so good, and really read really well as just like a one shot, right? Just to read the whole book,
Sure did.
I mean, I read that in maybe like 2 sittings because it was so good. I didn't want to stop, right? So yeah, we've been saying this for so long, like nearly the entire show we've been talking about is the future just like trade paperbacks, and then we were comparing it to European comics and BD, where they come out with those big volumes like Black Sod, where it's like it's just gorgeous and you read it and you're like, I got my fix, I'll wait 2 years for the next one or whatever it is, right? And then you go off and you read other shit and you don't worry about like getting your monthly I gotta have Avengers right into my veins. Like, no, it's like just read a good story and then read other good stories,
Yeah.
It's interesting to me that comics are like selling really, really well. Like they're having some record, I mean, not 1990s sales, but in recent memory, they're having some like record quarters and stuff and years or whatever. Comics are just selling well. And I really just don't know, is that because people our age now have so much disposable income that we're just buying whatever the hell we want? Or are there really that many new readers that are like flooding the market and snatching up stuff? And so maybe they don't need to do big trade paperbacks because there's tons of people reading monthlies. I don't know.
I'd like to say it's more people reading, or at least more people being introduced by us old timer readers, only because, at least from my experience, buying comics when I was younger, I got what I wanted anyway. It's not like I wouldn't stick myself to a specific budget of only like $25, because that didn't get you a whole lot. And it certainly doesn't get you much now, but even back then, so like I would get what I wanted to read and I would read it. I don't know that me being older now, in fact, I buy less now because I have the app, but if they're having record sales, I would be more inclined to think that's newer readers getting involved in issues than what we thought would have happened at this point. Because I think we all thought, more trades. That's exactly what I thought. By now, we'd be way more trade heavy than what we are. I'm actually surprised there's still so many issues out there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and I wish I had so many of the local. Oh, I mean, I'm here with Golden Eagle, but I don't know how much information they would spill. But when I was living in South Philly, that store there had closed down, but they were pretty honest about their buying habits and which publishers were a little more retailer friendly than others, and the ordering habits of the people coming into the store. I don't know. I'd be hard pressed to say what is it still, is variant covers still, is that still pushing numbers? Because they're coming out with those crazy 1 in 50, 1 in 100. So
I think it does. I think that part of it, you might have people with more disposable income buying those.
Right. But I mean, the retailers have to buy 100 issues of a title.
Yeah.
So could that inflate things? I don't know. I don't know. I just don't. I don't know enough comic book retailers anymore who I don't see that conversation going on. Like, not especially the way we used to talk about, and we used to talk to retailers and all that.
Yeah.
And I still have it in my head. Like, if I would have won that $1 billion lottery, I probably would have opened a comic store or bought Golden Eagle or something. Like that, And then I would have been like, oh, this is what this business is about. This crazy business.
Yeah. I said that to you the other night too. If I won something like that, I'd call all you guys and say, hey, I've got enough money to last us forever. Let's quit our regular jobs, open a shop, and just have some fun for a while.
Well, I'd like to think that if any of us opened a shop, it would be very much like the Isotope.
Be cool. Be a hangout spot.
Well, what is so brilliant about James? Because I was just there. I was in San Francisco right before the pandemic for the Apple conference, right in that like June, so 6 months or whatever before the pandemic. And I couldn't be in San Francisco and not stop in. And just when I'm in there, the customers that came in, like he doesn't recommend, like he barely does single issues, right? He just has trades and hardcovers and stuff. And somebody comes in and they say, "Oh, I like this kind of thing." And he has 6 options for him. He's like, "Oh, you would like this? And maybe over here." And he goes up the shelf and grabs that. And they're all different, but they're like, he's spot on. It's like they described something that they liked, and he found 6 amazing things that are like, that's going to get there. They're leaving with one of those. Like, there's no way they're not buying one. And he did it to me too. And I was like, I'm going on the airplane. Like, I have a carry-on only. I can't have room for this shit. Right. But like, he knew what I should be reading. Right. And I feel like that's a reason he's so successful and has so many repeat customers, because they're leaving and they're going to go home and they're going to read that and they're going to love it. And then they're going to come back and be like, what else will I love? Yeah. And it's not, see, that's why I'm so confused about how like single issues are still like such a thing. Cause like his store's so successful by basically not selling single issues. And that's how because then you give somebody a whole story. You're like, sure, read this. And then it's not impenetrable, because it's not like, oh, I got to come back every week for more. I don't want to miss them. And no, it's like, oh, it's got a bent cover and it's the only copy left at the bottom. No, it's just like, here you go. Read this story. It's not comics. It's not issues. It's just a story. Yeah. And then be happy and then read more stories. I don't know. Well, it's brilliant.
That's what I liked about when I first met you all, especially Peter, Kevin, John, and Alex at Golden Eagle in Berkshire, was there was a lot I didn't know, and started hanging out and talking. I'd say, well, this is kind of what I like. And you'd have Kevin and Peter going over, well, you'd like this, and pulling off stuff. And I'm walking out with like 20 extra books because of getting back issues to finish the story that they think I'll like. And I loved it. So just a different time when I was wanting issues, but that's the same effect would happen.
I forget where I was recently. I was somewhere like not far from Reading, but and I was like, okay, let me see what comic stores are in the area. And the one wasn't open. I think it might have been like a Monday or Tuesday or something like that. And I was like, okay, I guess that makes sense. They're getting ready for Wednesday. Okay, so they're shutting down. And I was checking their hours, and I was like, if I owned a comic store, first of all, why are you not open late at night on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? Oh, yeah. Like, why are you shutting down at 5, 6 o'clock on a Saturday or 7 o'clock on a Saturday? Like I would treat it like a destination spot, almost like part, not bar, but, it was sort of like James. Didn't he have like some bar?
He has like parties and stuff where he'll make cocktails and stuff. Yeah.
To me, I feel like if you're going to go after the adult money, you get your singles, maybe that's for like younger people or kids or whatever, but like make it a destination spot, have a hangout spot in the back that people can come to, and be open. Throw a fucking DJ in there and like have a thing going on a Friday night for all the people who are introverts but want to hang out at a place like that. Like I think of like all the conventions we went to or all the things that we held, and like Charlito's band and Charlito and Jeff's band. Like it's just a bunch of introverts and other cool people, and they love being there because it's still geek related. And then you go and sell them a whole bunch of shit and a whole bunch of drinks and whatever. Like, I don't know. I think there's a whole new revolution. It has to be a new way to do it. And I definitely would not be closed at 8 o'clock on a Friday night. Like, come on.
Especially on a Friday. Saturday, I could kind of see 7, 8 o'clock, but not on a Friday night.
Let's get people in there. Let's get them addicted. You gotta get them addicted to the stuff. They treat it too much like retailing. Like like you're going in and shopping, right? Like shopping for like clothing, and then you go, "Hey, can I help you?" And they say no, and okay, you walk away. You got to get these comics are an addiction. Yeah. They're not a necessity. So you have to almost feed it to them like an addiction. So.
Well, and going to Golden Eagle at Berkshire especially and meeting all you guys, that was addictive. I mean, I was able to leave work at that time. I was able to leave work at noon because I worked Saturday mornings.
It was a hangout spot.
That was a hangout spot. I'd be there from 1:00 in the afternoon, and then I'd be getting a phone call at like 6:00. You coming home for dinner? I'm like, nah, we're getting something to eat here. Or no, we're still hanging out talking. All right, that's fine. But just, be there 7 hours until they closed up.
Why have I not? I mean, I'm sure somebody does it, but why hasn't there been like a 5:00 happy hour at a comic store?
Yeah.
Even if it's not alcohol, like just something that gets the people and they can hang out and meet the other people. Like,
well, you can give alcohol away.
You can't just have them buy it.
You can't have them buy it,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, right.
So but then, you get them loosened up and then you sell them all those expensive trades, and then it's like, how much does it cost for a bottle of rum, really?
Right.
That would be my dream. That would be my dream. I forgot that the Golden Eagle has that big giant extra
the room in the back. Yeah.
See, we should get, too bad Kevin sold off all his collection, or, I don't know if he sold it off all.
He sold a lot of it, I think.
Yeah, we should have gathered all our collection. We should have had a flea market in the back there, just selling all our books.
He was talking about doing an auction because he had so much stuff.
Yeah,
I thought he did. Maybe he did it with parts of it, but not other parts. I don't know. I don't know what the story is there.
Yeah, it was something like that.
I know he sold some pages for some damn good money. Yeah. I know that much.
That's why he went off grid.
Like, I'm out of here.
Aye.
As much as I stopped getting a lot of comics, I kind of got back into a little bit of toys, not a lot, but like things like the new G.I. Joe stuff that's coming out, a new 6-inch Storm Shadow. Like,
that's cool.
I've started getting some of those the last couple of years, and I say it like it's nonchalant, but I have them all. But I'm really trying not to get so much crap. I'm trying to
started getting into it, but I bought every single one that came out.
I mean, I loved G.I. Joe as a kid. Other than Star Wars, it was G.I. Joe. Those were the two toy lines I had. I had some mask stuff, but that wasn't very large. I never got superpowers. Again, once Star Wars and G.I. Joe hit, that's what I played with, toy-wise. I love what they're doing with this line. It's a lot of fun. So far, they're kind of spaced out enough that it doesn't hurt yet. They say in 2023 they're gonna speed up a little bit. I'm like, no, you can keep it with less. I don't need 101 shot. Just 1 or 2 every quarter is fine.
How does G.I. Joe as a property? Like, there's no cartoon, there's no movie. Like,
that's the hard part. It's a lot of it's really all fan and nostalgia right now.
Yeah.
There's talk of a cartoon, and there is the comic that's always been there for years now. Again,
right? Sure.
But even I think IDW is losing that license, and it's going somewhere else now, which is fine. I think Larry Hamm is still involved with it when it comes to the new place, wherever that is. But yeah, you're right. The movies haven't been great. They've tanked. There's no cartoon. There's a couple books here and there, and there's a new one that goes kind of specifically with this line. But this is all fan-based stuff. I mean, you can't find them in stores for the most part. A lot of it's online pre-orders, which is fine. But it's a funny thing because you can walk down a toy aisle and there's still some of that distribution problems that we have yet. But you can see McFarlane toys. Hasbro has Star Wars and Transformers out there. There's all the Disney Pixar stuff and the Lightyear stuff out there. But G.I. Joe is hard to get over here. And I don't know if it's because that's not a licensed property. It's an owned property by Hasbro. So they own the rights to it. It's their property. So they kind of put that on the back burner at times in favor of things that are licensed to Marvel and Star Wars that kind of might have to be out there more often to satisfy contractual things, who knows, obligations.
Yeah.
But it's just funny that you see more of that stuff, and G.I. Joe suffers a little bit from that yet. But I don't know if it would do well if you had the pegs packed with these things, because not everybody gets them. The part of why they're harder to get is just because everyone pre-orders them now because you can. But there's not a huge presence in any store for them. It's a peg or two, and that's it. Whereas Star Wars has like 3 or 4 feet, and Marvel has 3 or 4 feet. Transformers has a good section. McFarlane's DC stuff has 4 or 5 pegs going across. But all of those are known licensed properties that constantly have things out there in the world. G.I. Joe's a little bit of a different beast, and I'm kind of surprised the line's doing so well, not because it's not good, it is really good, but just there's, like you said, there's nothing out there to promote it. It's all people that love this property for years, and that's why they're getting it.
I've long given up trying to second guess corporate think. I mean, especially like with this whole Warner Brothers thing that's going on, and just like you can't just trust what people are arguing about it. Like they're saying, well, they're doing this because they're getting rid of blah, 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 blah. Like you could see patterns. You can definitely recognize patterns of, if they cancel certain demographics in movies or TV or streaming or whatever. But they're looking at numbers that we never see.
Oh, sure. And that we'll never hear about.
And we'll never hear about. And they're going on the whims of people who don't like a show because it's Tuesday. Like I feel like we'll never know. And I'm not excusing it. I'm just like, I can't put energy into hating what all these decisions are because, who knows what their reasoning is? I don't know. And I will say this though. I don't know. Maybe that Batgirl movie did suck. Like I don't know. Like we don't know what I can't put energy into trying to second guess it.
The thing that I've never worked in Hollywood, so this is all based on, tidbits that you hear in 48 years of life, right? But like Hollywood and corporations are filled with lots of men with massive egos, right? And they just think that they know everything. And so it only takes one or two executives who think they know how everything works and that they can't be wrong and that they know what the world likes, and they make a decision, and then the Batgirl movie's canceled.
Right.
Maybe 10 people watched it and went, oh my God, we can't show this because maybe it sucked. Or maybe one guy says, who cares about a Hispanic Batgirl? Stupid. Axe it. I'm making my own splash. Because that has happened repeatedly where some new person takes over, and even if the shit the last guy did was really good, they got to ditch it because I can't let that guy win. Right. It's got to be my idea. Right?
Yep.
So there's always a combination of data that we don't have, plus ego-based decisions that are often terrible, right? Mm-hmm. And then you mix those two, and who knows what the hell you get, right?
Yeah.
So. And I can't say I hate it. I'm more disappointed that we won't get the chance to see it, and that I won't get the chance to see more Michael Keaton as Batman, or more of what's his name as Gordon. Like there's those kind of things that I'm disappointed in that I won't have the chance. But
I still think we're going to see it. I still think somewhere down the road
it'll come out.
Yeah, look how the Snyderverse thing, the Justice League thing. Like I think we're going to see it. I don't know what they're doing. Nobody knows what they're doing, right? Because they're not being forthcoming. I am sort of pissed that they. But again, this speaks to like what you were saying, Brian. Like they're not going to do a fandom this year, and they're saying because we want to get back to conventions. Physical conventions are thriving again, or they're starting to. And I'm like, isn't that? But isn't the whole point of fandom like? And I feel this way with any convention. All that stuff should be aired out digitally because it's a whole world thing. Like, if you paid people to watch panels at San Diego, I bet you they would pay for it if they were sitting at home, or the fandom thing, which you didn't have to pay for. But it was a global event. Now, some people said, well, there's nothing really for them to cheer right now because they're pushing movies back and TV shows are getting canceled. And I'm like, okay, hey, how about getting that schmuck, whatever his name is, up there to do like an Apple presentation and go, here's our idea. And then you let it sink or swim, or just focus on the comics and the animation, which still does, I don't know. It's just...
I enjoyed thoroughly being able to watch so many things on Celebrations panels, so many things on Fandoms panels. Hasbro has a PulseCon that's coming out again for the third year in a row. I have no problem if there's still conventions and you have something special for those people that are in attendance. But I would have no problem paying a couple bucks to watch something like that on a weekend event to be able to see most of the panels, and maybe just something special saved for people that are in attendance only. But I thoroughly enjoy being able to sit at home and watch these things because I don't get to even even when I could do it more easily, I never got to conventions like what I did when I was really young. So there'll never be a time when I can go to 5-10 conventions a year. It just won't happen again like that.
Plus, our backs can't handle sleeping on the floor anymore.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
can't
we can't afford to have multiple hotel rooms. That's crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's all kinds of impacts, but I think in this day and age, it only makes sense to stream at least a good portion of that stuff.
The whole verbiage of saying, we want to get back to the in-person convention. I'm like, oh, so you want to spread your information slower over multiple conventions than one giant global event that everybody really liked. Yeah. I mean, everybody really liked those fandom things.
Because now that I've had a taste of being able to watch Star Wars celebrations and fandoms and all kinds of stuff online, if that goes away completely in the next year or two, I'll lose a lot of interest in certain things because I just don't care to try and keep up with all the information that's coming out of 18 different places.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the online event where I could see the people who were there having a grand old time, and that's great. I'm happy for them. But I was just as happy sitting in my little room watching it too, being able to go downstairs and get a Coke and put it on pause for a minute while I do it, or whatever the case may be.
Maybe it would cost too much. I don't know.
Yeah. I can't see that.
I don't.
Not with all the Zoom technology now.
Streaming and stuff is cheap.
Yeah.
Like this is a different subject. Shane, I see that Court of the Owls mask behind you, right?
Yep.
So that just reminded me that I don't know if you do much video gaming at all, but they're doing a new like Batverse game coming out where
I know there's one
Red
coming.
Hood and Batgirl
Gotham Knights.
Gotham Knights. And they said one of the villains is the Court of the Owls is going to be one of the villains in the game. So that's kind of cool.
Oh, that's totally
cool. They haven't been in a game yet, I don't think. So
I think in recent history, you go back now, 10 years since that came out, at least. I think that's one of the better villains that's come out of comics in recent years that was completely invented.
Right. For sure.
Yeah, the boys still game a lot. I still don't game nearly as much as they do. And I have the one Spider-Man game that came out, not the Miles Morales one recently, but the one before that. But I haven't played it all the way through yet. I'm a little bit lax on keeping on top of that, but I do enjoy them when I do play them. I tried the new what was the Star Wars Rogue one? Rogue Squadron again?
Oh yeah, Rogue Squadron. Yeah.
It was great, but I only got 10% into it and then get out of a routine of playing it and do something else for a while. So I got to get back into doing some of that kind of stuff too. But I did hear about the game, but I haven't seen it. My oldest, he games a lot, and he was talking about they have some kind of very Street Fighter-esque fighter game out there that is very Warner Brothers heavy, and every week they add new characters to it.
Multiverses?
Yeah,
it has Shaggy as like a Super Saiyan.
Yeah, he's getting a kick out of it.
And bunch of Arya's in it from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
He was a big Rick and Morty fan, and they were just adding them into it. He's like, oh my God, Rick and Morty are going to be in it. So he's having a good time with that. And I kind of keep tabs on some of that stuff through him. But I heard it was coming, but I haven't seen anything about it or know when it's coming yet. But I'd be interested to check it out.
Yeah, I mean, it looks interesting. It looks cool. But it's funny that you say that, it's like in the last 10 years, like the only like memorable like character that has been created, is Court of the Owls. And I really think that's and we've talked about this for a long time, is it's a problem that Marvel and DC have, is that you almost never get new characters because creators want to create new characters for themselves and make money off of it and not create it and give money to Marvel or DC. And I think that they really need some like really good incentive program with lifelong rights to these, or profit sharing with these characters that will encourage new, because I think that's part of why comics feel kind of stale, because it's just the same characters doing the same kinds of things in slightly different ways, and there's very rarely new characters that are so compelling that you're like excited to read these characters. And now you're like, oh, this is my favorite. Like when Gambit was made and when Deadpool was made, like you were like, oh my God, it's so cool, it's a new character. And now it's like, it's the same people over and over and over.
And I'm sure there are people screaming right now going, oh my God, you guys, you just have to read this or this or this. And I get that. I limit myself because I just don't find a lot of the newer things interesting. I get it. But just just in my experience, that's one of the best ones in quite a long time. And I don't know
the
about
people that might be screaming, but if they were really that great of a character, wouldn't we have heard about it? Like, wouldn't our Facebook feeds be blowing up with people talking about the awesome new Avenger that was made, or the new villain in Fantastic Four? Like, we would have heard about it.
Yeah,
but we're not, because all that stuff is happening in indie comics, which is great for those creators, but it's not good for Avengers or Spider-Man or Justice League, right?
Yeah.
Because the ideas are out there. People have them. They're just saving them for themselves.
And I can't blame them for that.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's not their fault. It's the company's fault for creating an atmosphere that encourages regurgitation instead of new, right? And if you gave creators like you make a new character, you're going to get, X% of royalties, and if they go to the movies, you're going to get this much return on that character and the toys and whatever. Because right now you got nothing, so you let them give you something. I don't know.
I think of all those creators who are saying, oh yeah, our character was in a Marvel movie, a DC. I'm not getting paid for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that they're getting special thanked in the credit, and that's great. But they really need something else.
Yeah, when a movie's making $1 billion and you get special thanks, it feels a little hollow,
Yeah, yep, you're right.
Another total tangent. I just saw the trailer. Do you see the trailer for a movie called Fall?
No.
So it's a girl who, this is in the trailer, or it's in the setup. She loses her boyfriend because they're mountain climbers or whatever the hell they're called, right? Oh. And then her friend says, "You need to get over this. Let's go climb a 2,000-foot abandoned radio tower." And then the ladder breaks when they're at the top. And they got to find their way back down again.
Oh my God.
And that's like the whole movie.
And that's the movie. And I'm going, there's my friggin', height. I'm not necessarily afraid of heights, but I'm not comfortable with heights.
No, I'm afraid of heights.
Oh my God.
I don't like them.
Some of the shots, even in the trailer, I was like, ooh.
See, I thought you were going to bring up, because I just saw this earlier, the Winnie the Pooh horror movie that's coming out. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, or Honey and Blood, or something like that.
Because he's public domain now, and people can do crazy stuff with it.
Yeah, and they are. There's certain characters that aren't public domain yet, so you're not going to see Tigger or anything. But Winnie the Pooh and Piglet and Christopher Robin, they're public domain, and it's a little bizarre. I can't say that I'm going to go watch it, but I'm sure people will.
It's going to be so trippy, like if Disney loses Mickey Mouse, right? Because they're like, it's coming up, and some judges are already saying like, no, that's not getting renewed. Now I know it's Disney and they have a lot of judges in their pockets, but it's like, it now for the first time ever seems like it's possible that they could lose Mickey Mouse. People are going to do shit instantly just because they can.
Yeah,
they're going to do the sickest, grossest things with Mickey Mouse on purpose because they're allowed to.
Yeah. Bizarre.
Gonna be crazy. The porn business is just going, oh, give us Mickey Mouse. Like, we're ruining it for Disney forever.
That's funny. And they were saying that about Superman too, but then somebody was like, no, it's not. It's what they're going to lose is, or not lose, it's just going to be anybody can reprint those early comics or the early strips or whatever. Just like, I think anybody can reprint
Prince Valiant or whatever.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You don't get the character. He's still trademarked or whatever. You just you can do production rights or whatever. Yeah. That's what's so great about the internet and YouTube and stuff like that. Like, you have people who don't give a shit, and they're just like, we're just going to create. Take your property and just create, or just do crazy stuff, and that's why it's always so creative. Like when things come out of random TikTok viral things or whatever, and then suddenly it becomes a movie or whatever. Like that, it's a young person's game, and they can do, like somebody was talking about, it was Daryl. It was that conversation with Daryl where, so I guess in the Obi-Wan series, like he fights Darth Vader a lot. I saw a bunch of videos online, whatever. And, he was saying it's so interesting to see people's reactions to that fight, because if you were reading like the novels, you got all that. Like Darth Vader was all over some of those novels, you know?
Yeah.
And then I remember online, there was like a video that somebody spliced in A New Hope with like a modern take of that fight and kind of made it work. And so you saw Alec Guinness and Darth Vader, but it was like a whole new thing. And it was like, if you saw sometimes that was like 10 times better than what you saw Disney doing, because it was, you know, so let them go wild with this stuff. Like, why not? I mean, people are complaining about like the visual on She-Hulk. Like, get some of these people on YouTube that can do amazing things. Like, give them some money. I bet you they can come up with stuff that's better than what you're putting out there.
Lucasfilm hired that guy who did you saw The Mandalorian, right, Peter?
No, but I saw like bits and pieces. But the whole thing about them being in that.
Oh, the dome's amazing.
What were you
the volume. He's talking about the season 2 ending.
The season 2 ending.
Oh, okay.
And there was some CGI that was questionable.
Yep.
And then a random guy on the internet, did a much better version of the exact same scene.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they just hired him.
Much better.
Oh, and now he's doing that stuff for Disney.
Yeah.
He was amazing. The difference between what they produced and I have very little qualms, because that big dome I'm pretty sure they call it the volume. Yeah, that is amazing what they can do in there. I was blown away to find out that everything's filmed indoors inside this thing. But then to see the CGI was kind of like, okay, you did so much right with all this, but you really didn't get that right. And then like Bryan said, this random guy just does it and it's phenomenal. I would hope they'd hire him, because it was out of this world what he did with that scene.
Yeah.
The volume thing is like,
oh my God,
just completely revolutionary and changing the entire way everything will be filmed forever.
Yeah.
Like, it's no more blocking the street in New York City. Just just put New York in the background, and then they're standing there in front of the restaurant, and it looks like they're standing in front of the restaurant.
That first behind the scenes of the first season of The Mandalorian, where you find all that out. Oh my God, I watched that 2 or 3 times. I was blown away with what they were doing and how they were doing it. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I think they built a second one now, right? I think Disney already did.
I would think that they did.
Companies are doing it too, because it's like, once it exists, it's like,
and I remember Jon Favreau talking about it at that time, saying none of it's proprietary. It's all out there. So like you said, all these companies are coming and looking at it and going, oh my God, look at what they did. And now everyone's trying to replicate it.
Yeah, or at least real reflections of the actual thing that you're seeing in the background on.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be Mandalorian Army. It can be cars. It can be sunglasses. It can be anything. Like, it's real. Right?
Yeah, it's so amazing.
Cool. Plus, it's just better to act against and better to react.
Sure.
And some of those movies, even from like 5 years ago, depending on what type of screen you're looking at, your laptop, your TV, you can totally see.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're like, ooh, they are on a green screen there. Ooh, there it is. Like, I don't care how perfect you made your movie. Sometimes it just doesn't really translate. Yeah. And it doesn't, I don't really necessarily care too much about that, but there are definitely times where I'm like, ooh, that's bad. That didn't hold up. That special effect or whatever.
Yeah.
Ooh, that wig, So, yeah. Anything you can do to get back to reality would.
Yeah, it can only be better.
Right, exactly.
Practical effects in some way, but this volume really gives you that illusion of practical effects.
Especially because, like, isn't that the fun of movie making? Like, I am not even a movie buff, but I feel like the what they call magic, or what they call, the trickery of Hollywood and stuff like that, is that really fun? Like, is that really? I don't know. I mean, maybe people just worry about the final product. Like for instance, in Doctor Strange, the actress who played Wanda was not in the same room as John Krasinski when they. That was
right. Yeah, they were all separate.
Things. Yeah, yep. When she's fighting the other one, the Captain Carter, and but she said she never even met. They weren't in the same room. Like, something about that kind of makes me go. Like, that's. I get it. The final product doesn't matter, but imagine imagine in Godfather if those actors weren't actually acting against each other. Would you get the same performance? No, because the editing is what gives you the performance. And I, for one, think a lot of these movies have way too much editing, too many cuts. Like, can I just focus on, like, I just want to see these actors actually act against each other.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe that's old school thinking, but.
I mean, the actor bit is a separate issue, but I think the volume is solving some of that problem, right? So you don't have the green screen thing where like, oh, where is the big dinosaur? Oh no, it's here. Or like, where is the horizon that I'm looking at? Like, where's the window that I'm supposed to be looking out of? Like, whatever, right? Like, okay, now, so you solve that problem. And even like I was talking about, like for more mundane things, like a busy New York street, like if you have really good B-roll of a busy New York street and it's playing across the volume as you're standing there in front of an actual trash can and an actual like, you know, newspaper stand or whatever, and you're having a conversation, it's way cheaper to produce, faster to make. And that means we can have more better things, or they can spend the budget on the special effects they actually need to, like mapping Luke Skywalker's face correctly instead of skimping out, right? And like that, I feel like that's a win for like every fan. Like if you're making a series and now the series is cheaper to make so they can renew it instead of getting canceled because it didn't cost as much because they had 10 volume stages to film it on and they didn't have to go travel to the Great Wall of China, you know, or something like that's awesome. Right? Well, and we win.
And it's also, I think part of the process was also they could look at it and correct anything instantaneously because it's all filmed right there. There's no splicing the special effects together. It's looking at how the volume did in conjunction with the acting of, well, that didn't work, so let's tweak this and then just reshoot it instead of redoing it days later or even months later and trying to recreate all that again.
I was thinking of just like, you know, like the Mission Impossible movies or just like, I still haven't seen the new Top Gun, but Tom Cruise had those people in the planes throwing up and passing out because he wanted the reality factor.
Yeah.
That to me, that's why those movies are exciting. You know, like when you know that's like somebody could, you know, he broke his foot in one of them, you know?
Oh yeah.
And then
the Rotten Tomatoes score on the new Top Gun is like 94%. I mean, it's so high.
It's amazing. I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it yet. I can't wait to watch it, but we just haven't had a chance to sit down as a family and watch it yet. But oh my God, like I'm excited to see it because it's crazy. But you know, like Jackie Chan's been doing that shit for 40 years. So like somebody breaking an ankle, big fucking deal. Jackie Chan literally broke every bone in his body at some point or another in his movie making.
Michelle Yeoh tossed herself off of a car onto a highway, you know, in one of those movies. I saw in an interview that she did. Have you seen Everything Everywhere All at Once?
No, I still didn't watch that.
God, that is my favorite movie of the year. I mean, that is just...
It's by far the most original movie in 15 years. Like we actually got an original movie, a new idea, the execution, like everything about it.
The acting.
Just so awesome.
And it never forgot that it was a movie. Like there were certain parts of it that I was like, I don't want to give it away, but there were certain parts of it that I was like, I wish I would have seen it in a movie theater because I was like, I would love to have felt that. When there's one scene that, I'll just say this, rocks. You know what I'm talking about, Brian? Rocks.
I don't remember.
Boulders. All right.
I don't remember.
But it was so powerful because they were it was so good. I had a smile on my face through the whole movie. I was crying at the end. It had a whole bunch of special effects, but yet the heart and the creativity in the story was still there. I mean, it's like, hire those people to write your superhero movies because that was it was just great.
Also, you know, Short Round was in it.
And Short Round's in it.
Right. I knew he was in it.
Doing his thing. I mean, and Michelle Yeoh got to do her thing, and Jamie Lee Curtis got to do stuff.
Oh my God.
Oh, Jamie Lee Curtis is in it?
It's so good.
Yeah, Shane, like the next time that you have 2 hours and you are in the mood to watch a movie, pay $6, rent that immediately and stream it, and just because you won't regret it. I promise you.
Wow.
Especially because, you know, we're comic book people, superhero. I mean, it touches on things you already know, you know, like it's just phenomenal. Yeah. So good.
And when it starts like, I mean, the first 5 minutes, you're like, what am I watching? I don't really know what this is. This is the movie everyone was talking about. And like, we were watching with the kids and they were like, I don't, what's going on. And then like at minute 7 or something, it like kicks in. You're like, oh shit, what are we seeing? It was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. It's been a long time since I've watched one of those. And I have to, probably the last time I felt like that was probably the first Matrix. Watching that, because I didn't see that in the theater, watching it at home, renting it or something, and you get to a part and you're like, what the heck is going, wait, what? Oh my God. Oh wow. And boom, off you go on the ride.
Yeah.
So if that's the way you're describing it, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to definitely make some time to do that.
Yeah, I don't know what movie I would sort of compare it to in the last like 10 years or so. Like, because it went in so many different places. And when it wraps around at the end, just like, I want everybody to see the movie because I think it's a moment in time because it's such a good fucking movie.
Oh, that's cool.
Well done. Yeah, so well done.
It's been a long time since I felt like that. I mean, I'm enjoying Marvel movies that I see and whatnot, but it's been a long time since I've been surprised at a movie.
Yeah, it's so rare that you get something that's like wholly original. And this just, I mean, there's parts, there's like kung fu movie moments, right, or whatever, and that's cool, right?
Yeah.
But it's not a kung fu movie, right? It's something completely different, and so it borrows from little bits, but then it puts them together in such an original way that you're just like, okay. Just give him an Oscar, give whatever, writing. I mean, all of them. Just give him every Oscar. I don't care.
Costuming, every special effects, the music, everything. I mean, it's like, don't even have Oscars next year.
Right. Just be like, we've already decided you just win. Thank you.
Everything. Every award, every category.
Did anybody see The Northman yet?
No.
The Viking movie?
No.
With Alexander Skarsgård and the woman who was married to Tom Cruise, the Australian woman.
Nicole Kidman.
Nicole Kidman,
yeah. That movie was awesome.
Yeah.
It was really good. It was like they figured out how to first of all, it was gorgeous, but they really figured out how to like take like a Norse epic poem and turn it into a film. Okay. Like, because there's moments where you're like, what is this, a dream? Like, what's happening? Whatever. And then we're like, and because then you're like, I don't get it. Is this trying to be like a serious movie? And then you realize like it's a serious movie, but it's like an epic poem where like some weird shit happens, right? Like it wasn't all straightforward, especially Norse mythology. There's some weird shit like Loki and stuff like nuts, right? Like crazy shit happens. Like if you read the Neil Gaiman Norse stories book, like it's like, what the hell? So there's some like weird shit that goes on in their like mythos, right? And this is like this adventure of this character but like blended in with it. It was very well done. Very well done. Highly recommended.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
Way less original than like what we're talking about in this other movie, but another like exquisitely well done movie.
Yeah. And there's still a place for that too. Everything can't be original, my gosh.
Right.
But to have something well executed and beautiful, well done, that's worth something too.
I was almost going to say it doesn't have the same heart, but it does have the creativity and just the originality and the kind of like the roller coaster emotional aspect of like an adventure. But like, I was trying to think, okay, what movie could possibly compare to Everything Everywhere? I don't know if it's the same thing, but when I saw Back to the Future, the first Back to the Future, and just how you had to watch that movie because you had no idea as it was playing what was going to happen, what could happen, and then you get to the ending and you're just like, what's going on with this movie? Like, it's not the same, but I'm hard pressed to think of another movie that is one of those where you just sit back and just watch and is just so amazed at how original it was, So I don't know.
I can see that.
It's not a great comparison, but in terms of maybe some of the things it could be, but Yeah.
But yeah, thinking about 1985 when that came out, I know I rented that or saw it on HBO the first time. I didn't see it in the theater.
It's on in the theater.
Oh, I saw it in the theater. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw all the good 80s geek movies in the theater because my grandfather took me to every one. You know, I saw Back to the Future, I saw Karate Kid, I saw Goonies, I saw The Dark Crystal, I saw Labyrinth, I saw like all, like just name them all. I didn't see like the Pretty in Pink and that kind of stuff because that was like too old for me at that time. But I saw all the good nerdy movies, like every single one.
I remember going to see Footloose. I saw Footloose.
I saw Footloose in the theater. I don't think I saw any of the Brat Pack movies. As much as I love them, I think that was all HBO. I don't remember seeing Labyrinth. I saw Gremlins in the theater.
Oh yeah,
might have seen Goonies in the theater, but I'm pretty sure like Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, and all that. I'm pretty sure that HBO was the first time I saw that stuff.
I didn't see any Star Wars in the theater, the original.
Oh, really? I did. Yep. Every one of those I saw.
My cousin was more Star Wars. He was more.
I saw Empire and Jedi.
Star Wars, my parents dropped my sister off at a babysitter's and took me and me alone to see Star Wars in 1978. It was the re-release because like right after that, we went to Kmart and I got a figure. And I know the figures didn't really come out in stores until 78. So I know that's much to my chagrin. I thought I saw it in 77. It was really 78. But then I can remember 1979, early 80, before Empire Strikes Back came out, going to a drive-in to see a re-release of Star Wars because when my dad paid for us to get in, they handed him a pamphlet and the pamphlet was the new toys for Empire Strikes Back. And at the end of the drive-in movie, once Star Wars ended, you got a trailer for Empire Strikes Back. So I can remember distinctly doing that. And that was amazing. And then I saw Jedi, of course, in the theater too. And then mom and dad took us to see Empire in the theater.
My family dropped me off to go see E.T. while they went and shopped or some of that. And I walked out of there crying my eyes out. Because the way
I saw E.T. too.
I saw E.T. in the theater. I think my mom took me.
I saw Clash of the Titans in the theater.
Oh, I love that.
That I saw on HBO.
I'm telling you, my grandfather just took me to all the good shit. Back to the Future.
We went to the movies a lot, but I don't remember seeing that kind of stuff. I think that was too far for my mom and dad and my sister.
I think my grandfather he just loved any movie, and so he wanted to see me enjoy the movies. So he picked all of the movies that were like very specifically for like young boys or whatever, right? Or just young kids in general, right? But like, yeah, so I got to see all of it.
My sister always says, "Oh yeah, I remember you were about 4, 5, 6 years old, and we took you to go see Jaws. And next thing we knew, you were down in the seats because you were like, I'm not watching this fucking movie." Now it's in my like top 5 favorite movies, but you don't take a kid to go see Jaws. Come on,
yeah, you'll never go swimming.
God.
You do in 1976, Peter. The rules were very different when we were kids, right? What the heck? You know,
my mom used to wake me up to watch Benny Hill because it would be like on late at night.
Sure,
the movies and everything. Yeah, we used to go down and laugh our ass off at Benny Hill.
My mom and dad would wake me up the for that kind of stuff. But the one I remember is when Porky's was on HBO one time. My dad came up and woke me up and came down and they had me watch a bunch of the scenes. Like there were times when they're like, "Cover your eyes." And I'm like, "All right," because like I was a kid. What did I know? Covered my eyes, but then all the jokey stuff. We would watch, and I was laughing my butt off.
Come on, funny. Revenge of the Nerds, Hair Pie. I'll drink that. I mean, there was no turning heads on that.
No.
And Amityville Horror. I remember watching that one. I did like kid.
That one and Poltergeist. I was terrified of both of those.
Here for Poltergeist, but yeah, like I used to watch. They didn't care. Like it was like you just watch. So what? It's a scary movie. If you want to watch a scary movie.
Yeah,
you pay the price. You're going to be scared. That's your fault, right? Yeah.
Yep.
You know what's funny about this conversation, right? Is we've mentioned HBO like 27 times in the last 30 seconds, right?
Sure.
And Discovery is talking about like changing the name of the streaming service from HBO Max to like Discovery Plus or whatever. It's like nobody gives a shit about Discovery. HBO is the brand,
right?
It is. The Discovery Channel means like shows about gardening and the Roman Empire. Whales. It doesn't have anything to do with good content, right? So why would you? That's a perfect example of an executive who's all about ego.
Yep.
And they're like, well, I was in charge of the Discovery Network, so I'm clearly going to rename the streaming service. No, asshole.
Yeah.
HBO is synonymous with the best television and good movie content. And now you're talking about like getting rid of that brand name. Not that the brand name will go away, but that the service might have a different name. And it's like, it's just asinine.
Yeah.
I watch the HBO app more than anything else. I really do. It's got everything I want on there. Like,
Between HBO and Disney. And the only reason I have Paramount is really the Star Trek stuff. And I held off on that for 2-3 years. I was really holding out, and finally I think it was Picard that really got me into getting that, so I could watch the new season of Discovery, Picard, Lower Decks was on deck next. Like there was a lot in a short time, but yeah, I really held off on that one. But HBO and Disney, man, that between the two of them, they have 99% of everything that I love.
You still have cable?
We do, but only because it's part of there's a small association fee with where I live, and you get cable. So if we separate the bundle for internet and cable that we have, the internet goes skyrocketing. But if we got rid of everything, we'd still have some cable coming into the house because it comes with the house. There's no way around it. So we have it hooked up. We have no recorders, no extra anything. It's the little box in the living room, and that's it. Because everywhere else we have Apple TV, Fire Stick, whatever, and we stream everything everywhere else. So it's one box in the house now. There
was just a report like back in July where for the first time streaming has gone higher than cable in terms of viewership. But it was, I think it's weird because they're looking at streaming, which is everything, Netflix, HBO, blah, 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 and cable, but they also separate out broadcast, which is ABC and all that stuff. Like really, who is separating who only has ABC and who only has cable?
I won't say a lot. There's a reasonable amount of people who are streamers who live near big cities. Like you can buy one of these antennas for $30. Right. It's a little thing. You just stick it on your window. And now you can watch sports games and Dateline or whatever, right? Yeah. Like whatever it is you want to watch.
Whatever's on there.
And, for $30, it's a one-time investment.
Sure.
And most people now live near big cities. So there's a reasonable amount of people. Like I've almost bought one multiple times, but then I'm like, I don't want the temptation to watch live television, right? I don't want to get sucked into like channel surfing, even the
commercials and all that stuff.
Right? But I'm just like, even though it's only $30, I'm going to not buy it. And even though I live here next to Philadelphia and I would get everything crystal clear in HD, it would be great. Yeah. But I've chosen not to. A lot of people do.
My parents' bill, they're like $200 and some or something like that because they still have cable and they still watch oh my God.
Anything that Carlene and I really watch, I mean, we might have something on in the background coming through the cable box just because it's there. But 99% of what we watch is through a streaming service of some kind. It's just so simple.
And all the main channels have it, or if you do get one of those boxes, they have Tubi, something else that then you can watch all the new stuff on.
So we had to get a new TV for the living room, and we ended up with a Samsung. I haven't bought a new TV and I can't tell you how long. And this thing came with some kind of, it's a smart TV, of course, and you connect it to the internet, and it has a Samsung channel that has a whole bunch of channels, and some of them are dedicated. So like, my younger boy was watching it. I was getting a kick out of it. He's like, what's this? And he knows it from Friends, but he never watched it. It has a dedicated Baywatch channel, 24/7, 7 days a week, Baywatch. And he stumbled across it. He's like, oh my God, Dad, they really do only run. And I'm like, yeah, that's because on Friends, they joke about, they look at them run. Yeah, that's all they do. They run the entire show. But part of that is, and I found this fascinating. I told Pants about it. There's a Doctor Who channel, 24/7, 7 days a week, classic old Doctor Who. Shows from the very first stuff to not the Christopher Eccleston newer stuff. It ends at like the 7th Doctor stuff. but just rerun constantly through 24/7. So if there's something that I'm doing downstairs, cleaning, whatever, doing dishes, I'll throw that on and listen to a Doctor Who episode for a while.
Wow.
But everything for me is streaming, non-commercial, some kind. I can't stand having to sit to a schedule to watch something. I would just want to, when I have time, I want to be able to sit down and watch it.
Right.
With no commercials.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they came up with a streaming service named Prism, I would get it just because.
And so would 50,000 other Philadelphia area people, right?
Yeah,
but nobody else in the world would buy it. They wouldn't know what the hell. They would think, is this all Pride content? No, it's just Philadelphia entertainment.
All right. I think we gave them enough chitter chatter.
Yeah, it was 2 hours, man.
I know. We're
going old school.
You keep talking. Shane doesn't have anybody to talk to anymore.
Nobody home to talk to. There's nobody to buffer. It's just me and Carly.
You said
she doesn't want to hear this shit.
Tasha's not home.
Yeah, she's visiting her sister.
I'm in a prison.
Doing like a sister thing.
Yeah.